So for chief digital officers, CEOs, e-commerce experts listening, going back to their desk right now, what is it that they should be doing right now to adapt their platform for e-commerce sales into Canada?
So US companies that are selling via e-commerce to Canada, you may struggle to reach Canadian prospects, even if you have a search engine optimized English translation US website. It's going to be good to keep a few things in mind when you're trying to sell to Canada via e-commerce. First of all, you should probably localize the URL if possible. So in Canada, the correct top level domain to use is .ca. .ca is an established top-level domain and recognized as a safe, secure, and trusted resource for Canadians. It also tells your Canadian customers that your business supports the Canadian economy, you charge in Canadian dollars, and you pay and collect Canadian taxes. The Canadian Internet Registration Authority, or CIRA, has been managing the registry since 2000, and you can apply for a .ca domain through them. The only downfall to this is that you have to have some form of presence in Canada. If you don't have a presence in Canada, the next best thing to do is to have an option to toggle to a Canadian-facing website from your US.com site. You've probably seen that on other US sites before when you have the little English or Canadian flags in the top right-hand corner that allows you to go to a site specific to that country. And regardless of whether you're able to create a .ca website or you have a Canadian-facing website, you should consider localizing the content for Canadians. So this includes consideration for Canada's bilingual laws, and you'll find I come back to that a number of times. The Official Languages Act of 1969 makes Canada an officially bilingual country, and where both English and French are spoken. So because of this law, it's compulsory for the federal government's websites and related agencies to be both in English and French. But within that law, there's no mention of business organizations. So private organizations don't have to serve clients in another language apart from English. That applies to every province and territory except for Quebec, where, according to Article 5 of the Charter of the French Language, companies carrying out commercial activities have to provide content in French. That said, having websites in both French and English is just good business, and it's a sign of cultural sensitivity and good corporate citizenship. But just to confuse the matter just a little bit more, the French spoken and written in Canada differs quite heavily from that spoken in Europe and other French-speaking countries. And there's a number of dialects across Canada. So we're recommending that you use a Canadian translator to ensure you don't commit any faux pas. So let's touch upon language and culture. Canadians and Americans, we share a lot, including our media, commercial brands, lifestyle pursuits, and even oftentimes family on either side of the border. But you have to remember that we're two very distinct nations, and there's some significant differences when it comes to language and culture and societal norms, and you need to be aware of these differences to localize the content for your potential Canadian clients. For example, Canadian English spell the same as British English, and that differs from American English in many cases. So words that would end in OR in the United States are spelled with an OUR in Canada, such as the words color, flavor, and behavior. And words like aesthetic in the United States are written with an AE, as in aesthetic in Canada. Canadians also use the metric system and Celsius for temperatures instead of imperial and Fahrenheit, which are used in the United States. And that goes back to the labeling of products as well. So with Canadians being metric and Celsius. Canada has its own slang as well, just like in the United States, and including the correct slang words familiarizes the content for Canadians. So some examples of Canadian slang include the use of the word washroom instead of restroom or bathroom, and the word pop or chocolate bar instead of soda and candy bar. Finally, U.S. businesses should consider offering pricing in Canadian dollars. The exchange rate, it plays a really important role in the bilateral business relationship. End user prices of U.S. products and services to Canadian customers can be substantially affected by exchange rates changes between the U.S. and the Canadian dollar. And although it's relatively stable, the exchange rate does fluctuate and can fluctuate regularly. If you choose to make sales in Canadian dollars, it's important to develop a hedging strategy to offset the exchange rate. Whoever you're banking with you should be able to have a conversation with them on a hedging strategy.
Yeah, that's actually really interesting, Tracey, because I find that stuff overwhelming when you first look at it. But most of the companies listening here, if you're selling online, there are a number of companies that do that type of solution right in the checkout, or they integrate into your marketplace sales, and they'll reduce that FX rates, repatriation. They'll adjust currency right at the moment and allow consumers in Canada to see exactly that amount. And you want to also make sure when you're selling that you have that decimal point also removed. So you're not saying, oh, well, it's converted from $5 to 6.437. There's a lot of solutions out there that have really advanced that experience.
Absolutely. So just one final word of wisdom. When you're launching in Canada, don't copy your American strategy. You've got to localize for Canada, just like you would for any other country.
That is the big takeaway here. We are selling to a new country. It is called Canada. And Tracey and her team are there to help. And again, thank you, Tracey, and the commercial service in Canada for breaking this all down in such a wonderful, actionable, and concise way.
You're very welcome. Thank you for having me. And I look forward to communicating with anybody that has any interest in selling to Canada.
Awesome. Again, find us again at Grow Big, at the Grow Big initiative. Click on the video, subscribe, follow us so you can learn how you can grow your business online through multiple channels and geographies. We'll see you soon. Ciao.